And along with that, our marriages, they're supposed to be a means of peace and tranquility and happiness. So when we put both of them together, the Muslim house is supposed to be a house where people are happy, where people are satisfied, where people are smiling, where people are laughing, where people are enjoying their night and days. Now, no doubt about it, we have to take care of the things of our houses, the couches and the sofas and the materialistic things of our houses. But along with that, we also have to make sure that we bring religion into our life. Religion should permeate every single aspect of our life. And when it does, there will be so much peace and happiness and tranquility. Now we look at the house of the Prophet ﷺ, it was very simple. It was very small. It was so small, or it was so big, that it could only fit 4 graves. Some of our one room in our house is bigger than the whole house of the Prophet ﷺ. So worldly wise, it wasn't the best of houses. But my dear respected brothers, that house had so much happiness and peace and tranquility, so much love and affection, so much respect and honor for each other. Why? Because there was religion in that house. So my dear respected brothers, today many people, they have the best of houses and the best of cars. And we might think that that is the ideal family, the ideal husband, the ideal wife, the ideal next door neighbors. But none of us knows what is going on in that house behind those closed doors. So that's why, my dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, when we keep the lifestyle of the Prophet ﷺ in front of us, and we implement it in our life, there will be so much peace and tranquility and happiness, because the purpose, one of the purposes of sending Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, as the brother mentioned here, is وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ, that when we implement the teachings of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in our life, then not only the human beings, but even the birds and the animals and the trees, they will find so much peace and comfort and happiness, and they will find good existence in this world because of the teachings of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Now my dear respected brothers, along with that, and sisters, the Prophet ﷺ, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ, that most surely you have the most sublime and exalted character. So in other words, when we want to look up to somebody, we want to emulate somebody, we want to copy somebody, there's nobody better than Prophet Muhammad ﷺ to emulate. Because let me share this important point with you, that there's a person who has written on the life of Isa alayhi salam. His name is Dr. Charles Anderson Scott. This person writes that the attempt to write a life of Jesus should frankly be abandoned. The material for it certainly does not exist. It has been calculated that the total number of days of his life, in other words, Isa alayhi salam's life, regarding which we have any record, the total number of days, it does not exceed 50. We only have 50 days of the life of Isa alayhi salam in front of us. Whereas Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, we have every single aspect of his life, and he's a role model for everybody. Now, with respect, brothers, every single one of us, the husband and the wife and the children, we all need to make an effort in the house to bring peace and comfort and compassion. But today, I want to focus on the aspect of the Prophet ﷺ being an amazing husband. And I'm sure that the sisters are paying extra attention tonight, inshallah. And I hope that when you go back home today, you remind your husbands that, you remember that? And all of 2016, make sure you remind your husbands what you heard tonight, inshallah. Say inshallah, brothers and sisters. Now, my dear respected brothers, why was the Prophet ﷺ so kind and compassionate with his family members and with his wives? Well, one thing is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran, وَعَاشِرُوهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, and live with them in kindness. So this is the direct command of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ for every single husband, that we have to live with kindness with our spouses and with our wives. Along with that, as Hafiz Ikhlas Sahib mentioned, about how Khadija radiallahu anha, the wife, she praised Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's actions before he became a prophet. In other words, we don't need religion. Even if there was no religion in the world, we should still have this kindness and be this compassionate and be this merciful, and that is why Khadija radiallahu anha praises the husband. I make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you all say Ameen as well. I make dua to Allah that Allah give tawfiq to my wife to praise me once Ali is in the life, inshallah. Say Ameen. No, just joking. You know, I'm just joking. I don't know where you are, but Just once.
We got to raise our character, inshallah.
Inshallah, I'm still working on it. But Khadija radiallahu anha, she says words of praise after praise about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Look how gentle Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was. Once Safiya radiallahu anha, they were traveling, and she was really tired. She was extremely fatigued because of the journey. So she started crying. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, out of his kindness, comes up to Safiya radiallahu anha and wipes the tears by using his garment from the face of his beloved wife Safiya radiallahu anha. So we see that his kindness of wiping the tears away from his spouse's face. Now also so much consideration and respect flows from this following story, from this following event which is mentioned in Bukhari. It's very short, very concise, but we see that in some cultures, men are considered gallant and chivalrous because they open the door for their wife. And some of us would even call them being whipped, but whatever the case. So, but the Prophet ﷺ, he goes down on his knees for his wife. For his wife, the Prophet ﷺ goes down on his knees, as mentioned in Bukhari, for his beloved wife Safiya radiallahu anha, that when they're traveling, the Prophet ﷺ would go on his knees and put one knee out so that the wife can put her feet on the knee of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so that she can climb on the mountain conveyance. You see once again how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam lowers himself, humbles himself. If we want to be loved by our spouse, by our wife, by our husband, let us lower ourselves and humble ourselves for the other person, and that will melt their hearts, and that will make them so soft. And along with that, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would also rectify his, as a husband, he would rectify his wife's, whatever he used to disagree with his wife's actions, he would rectify that. Once some non-Muslims came and said to the Prophet ﷺ that Assam alayk, which means they didn't say As-salam with a lam alif, they said Assam, and Assam means death. In other words, they were saying to Prophet ﷺ that may death be upon you. So the Prophet ﷺ replied, Wa alaykum, and upon you. In other words, whatever dua you made for me, the same dua for you. But Aisha radiallahu anha, she says, death be upon you and the curse of Allah and His wrath. So she replies with three things. So the Prophet ﷺ says, O Aisha, do not use coarse language. Do not use rough, mean language. So Aisha said, O Messenger of Allah, didn't you hear what they said to you? So the Prophet ﷺ, subhanAllah, he says, did you not hear me replying to them with the same term? Allah does not like the use of coarse language, does not like the use of mean language. So we also need to remember this throughout our marital life. Along with that, we see that the Prophet ﷺ, he never belittled, sacrifice the animal, you need to take off your ihram, you need to, shave your hair. But the companions are not listening to him. And not because they were disobeying him, but because they were hoping that maybe the Prophet ﷺ would change his opinion and would go back and go and discuss the treaty again. So he tells his companions once, they don't listen. He tells them the second time, they're still hoping that the treaty will be changed. And then after that, Prophet Muhammad comes to Salama radiallahu anha and asks her and tells her that, what should I do now? They're not listening to me, but their Salama radiallahu anha says, it's not because they don't want to listen to you. I'll tell you what to do. You go outside, go sacrifice the animal, go take off the ihram, go shave your hair, and when they will see you, they will imitate you. And that is what exactly the Prophet ﷺ did. So we see here that the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala going to his spouse to seek her consultation and mashwara. Also the Prophet ﷺ, he would find time every single day to sit down with all of his wives. In other words, we need to spend time with our spouses. Unfortunately, many of us husbands, we've gone missing. We're missing in action. We don't have time to spend time with our spouses and even with our children, to such an extent that unfortunately our houses, they become like restaurants and hotels. Restaurants and hotels. In a restaurant, we come and eat, we don't know who's around us, we eat and we go walk away. In a hotel, we don't know who's living beside us, and that is our houses have become, unfortunately, because we're not spending time with each other. But the Prophet ﷺ, he found time for his spouses, and also that is because the Prophet ﷺ knew that to be the best person in the world, we have to be best to our spouses. خَيْرُكُمْ خَيْرُكُمْ لِأَهْلِهِ وَأَنَا خَيْرُكُمْ لِأَهْلِي. If you want to be the best out of all males, out of all human beings, then the best of you are those who are the best to their spouses, and I am the best to my spouse. So in other words, this is another important lesson for all of us, that we need to be the best to our spouses. The Prophet ﷺ's marital life was like other people's marital lives. We have disagreements, we have disputes, we have quarrels. So that happened in the lifestyle of the Prophet ﷺ. It wasn't all bed of roses. It wasn't all a life of agreement with everybody. No, there were disagreements. Once the Prophet ﷺ and Aisha radiallahu anha, they were disagreeing with something. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu overheard that disagreement. So he came inside telling his daughter that, and rebuking her. But the Prophet ﷺ came to her safety and protected her and saved her. And then after that, when Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu went away, the Prophet ﷺ said that, look, didn't I save you, in other words, from your father? And then after that, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu came back later, and he saw that the Prophet ﷺ and Aisha radiallahu anha, they were laughing, they were joking, they were having fun time and enjoying their time. So at that time, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu said, just how I was part of your disagreement, now make me a part of your peace and comfort, and let me join in with you people. Along with that, my dear respected brothers, the Prophet ﷺ told us that we should not hate, we should not dislike our spouses because we don't like something in them. لا يفرق مؤمن مؤمنة إن كره منها خلقا رضي منها آخر. The Prophet ﷺ says, if you dislike, if you do not like one quality from your wife, ignore that, because she has many more good qualities. Sometimes we focus too much on some mistake, some fault in our spouses, and because of that we keep on nagging each other. We all have faults, we all have mistakes, we all have blemishes. We're all human beings. But the Prophet ﷺ says that we should ignore. No doubt about it, if we're making a mistake, we need to make an effort to ameliorate and to change and to not make that mistake again. But we shouldn't be constantly nagging each other, as the Prophet ﷺ says. Also, the Prophet ﷺ, even though he had multiple wives, he never hit any one of them even once. Not even once. So we should all ask ourselves, all males, that after all these years of marriage, can I say today that I have never beaten, I've never hurt, I've never hit my wife? As the Prophet ﷺ says, لَن يَضْرِبَ خِيَارُكُمْ, that the best of you will never hit your wives. And the Prophet ﷺ, he is our role model. So we see that another amazing teaching from the Prophet ﷺ. Now also the Prophet ﷺ, like I mentioned, that there were disagreements. There was an occasion about this verse, in kunna turidna al-hayata ad-dunya wa zinataha. At that time, the Prophet ﷺ left him for 1 month. And there was a disagreement, but eventually they all got back together again. So my dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, that's why the Prophet ﷺ, he went out of his way also to praise his wife. So every single one of us, all husbands, we need to realize that not expressing love, not uttering it, not saying it with our tongue, then it's not counted as expressing. In other words, when we're not expressing our love, then we're not really actually, unexpressed love is no love at all. We need to express our feelings, even though we might not be used to it, even though we might not want to, but we have to force ourselves. Even though I might not want to do something with my, go somewhere with my spouse and spend time with my spouse, but just because I don't feel like it, it doesn't mean I deprive others. We see that Prophet ﷺ, he raced with Aisha radiallahu anha twice. The first time there was a race, even though we should realize that he was in his 50s. He was in his 50s and he's racing with his wife. So the first time there was a race, Aisha radiallahu anha won, and the Prophet ﷺ didn't win. But later on, then once again the Prophet ﷺ raced Aisha radiallahu anha when she had put on weight. And then at that time, the Prophet ﷺ, when he won the second race, he said, this for that. In other words, I lost that one, but I won this one. We see that the Prophet ﷺ had so much fun with his family members. Once, the Prophet ﷺ, on one side was Aisha radiallahu anha, on the other side was Sauda radiallahu anha. Aisha radiallahu anha had cooked some food, and she said to Sauda radiallahu anha that, eat some. Sauda radiallahu anha, she said, no, I don't want any food. So Aisha radiallahu anha threatened her and said, yo man, you better take some, otherwise, I'm going to do something with this food. So she said, no, I don't want this food. So at that time, what Aisha radiallahu anha did, she took some food and smeared it on the face of Sauda radiallahu anha. So the Prophet ﷺ is there, one side Aisha, one side Sauda. And then after that, the Prophet ﷺ said to Sauda that now I want you to smear her face with the food. You know, just like maybe like just a finger or whatever on the face. And then after that, the Prophet ﷺ was laughing and enjoying himself. So I'm not going to call it a food fight or something because that's out of the way. Other than that, the Prophet ﷺ increased the love and attachment with his wife. The Prophet ﷺ did different things to increase his love and attachment with his wife. For example, whenever the Prophet ﷺ would enter the house, he would make miswak just to freshen his breath before he met any of his spouse. Along with that, and I don't know where Brother Sarwa Nasser is, our president. Is he here? Okay, because he was mentioning something about the hair, and as Muslims, you know, whatever is permissible to increase our beauty and handsomeness or whatever, or to increase our love. So the scholars of Islam, they also give permission that if you know, to dye our hair other than the color black, because the color black, it is strictly prohibited in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, whereas any other color, you know, and he was mentioning about it, so I wanted to let him know that in his second term, even though his age might increase, but he will look younger, inshallah, when I'm around him, inshallah. So, you know, just go to Walmart and, you know, just for men, get dark brown hair and, you know, just leave it on a bit longer. And, you know, that fulfills a need. Say, Takbir, brothers. I got your back, man, I got your back.
That is allowed for the beard also?
For hair, yes, for the beard, you know, I mean, for your hair. Yeah, but we don't want any green-colored uncles walking around and stuff like that. Along with that, my dear respected brothers, the Prophet ﷺ, so much love he expressed to his spouses. Aisha radiallahu anha, she says that whenever I would drink from a certain place, the Prophet ﷺ would intentionally would drink from that place. Whenever I would eat from any place, the Prophet ﷺ would intentionally eat from that place just to express his love. Now also the Prophet ﷺ, you know, he would help out in the day-to-day household duties. You know, for example, he would wash his own clothes and milk his ewe, even though that's spelled E. We want her to work full-time in the house as well. Does that make sense? She's working full-time outside the house, and we expect her to work full-time in the house as well. I know the husbands are not going to like this, but hey, it's a reality. And sometimes when this happens, it causes friction. It causes fights and arguments and quarrels because she's obviously going to be extremely tired. In that situation, you have the money, spend some money on yourselves. Get somebody to help out and assist. Get some maid, some servant, somebody to help out. You know, to bake the rotis and the rice and everything else like that. Where's all that money going to if both the spouses are working, and because of that there's fights and arguments in the house? So we need to remember that as well. Other than that, you know, alhamdulillah, amazing teachings and statements from the Prophet ﷺ. You know, he knew their feelings and he would praise them. And the Prophet ﷺ is the ideal role model. And I told you that compared to all the other prophets, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is the ideal role model because he's a role model for people of different professions, different backgrounds, different races, different, you know, different professions. And I end here with this advice that if we want to make an effort on our marriage, you know, we spend hundreds and thousands of hours of our life studying secular education, our religious education, which is all important. But how much time did we spend to be better husbands and be better wives, even though this impacts us every single day of our life? It doesn't make sense. That's something which we have to deal with on a daily basis. We haven't learned how to be good husbands, good wives. So I would encourage you to buy this book. It doesn't cost much, but